Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, today I'm going to talk about my computer and console gaming history. So I recently made a video about the handheld history, which seemed to go down really well. So thank you for watching that and leaving your comments, I really appreciate it. If you've not seen that video, please check it out on my channel. So computers and console. So I've been gaming for like 40 odd years now, so long time, and I've owned a lot of different systems over the years, and more so especially as a collector as well in the last 20 odd years. I've owned a ridiculous amount of systems. But I'm just going to try and do my best to go chronologically right from the beginning to the present day where I am right now. So this could be a long video, so get ready for it and get comfortable. So let's start with my first ever gaming experience, which was on my dad's Commodore 64 way back in the early 1980s. So dad had the bread bin Commodore 64, and I don't remember the reason exactly why, but where we lived, he came upstairs one day, set up the computer on the floor of my bedroom with a small TV. It must have been like a 14 or 15 inch, I would have thought. And yeah, I don't remember why, whether I'd been hassling him to play games or he just wanted me to try the computer. I'm not too sure. It could be because my dad was always about technology. He's always getting me involved, and that's why I love technology so much nowadays, because of my dad. But yeah, Commodore 64, what a great way to start gaming. My first ever game I played as well, Way of the Exploding Fist. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start in life, really. That's such a fantastic game. I haven't played any of these Commodore games since the 80s, so I've no idea how any of them actually hold up. They look good when I watch videos on YouTube, but I haven't played them myself, so maybe in the future I will be able to. But yeah, memories of that game in particular. The clamshell is absolutely beautiful. I've seen it online as well, and it's always very tempting to pick a copy up just for nostalgia reasons. But yeah, Way of the Exploding Fist was a great game. I don't remember too much about the format. I've seen screenshots of it, and I think I've probably watched some videos as well, but I can't remember too much about it. I think it's a screen by screen, you walk along and batter people. I think that's how the game works. So like a Kung Fu Master kind of style, I think. I'm not 100% on that, but I do remember it being very good at the time, and the graphics especially, like the art style, was really cool. And that art style, they followed it up with a sequel called Fist 2, which was an extremely difficult game. I never got anywhere in that. That I would probably assume would be called a Metroidvania now, where you're wandering around a lot and going back and forth. I just remember you start in like a forest, then you go into a building, then you go down some ladders, and you're in a sewer, and you're just wandering around going back and forth, and I could never really make progress on it. But they also had obviously the International Karate games, International Karate Plus or IK Plus, with the same characters. I don't know if all these games were made by the same person or people, I've no idea. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments, because you guys know a lot more than I do about who developed what. But yeah, those games were all absolutely fantastic. And you know, the Commodore 64, this was very early 1980s. I found out as an adult, because I obviously was young, so I don't remember most of what happened, but in 1986 was when we moved house, and we moved to a different part of the area that we lived in. And when we moved into a small grove, and in this grove there were a lot of families, obviously, and there were two kids my age, Michael and Mark, and then there was a set of teenagers. There was Ian, Sarah and Matt, who were brother and sister, and then at the end of the grove, opposite the grove, the road that ran alongside it, there was Adrian. Now, we all used to hang out all together, which was odd considering they were older than us, but we did. And I don't remember what year it was. Obviously it was after 1986. So one Christmas I wake up, open up my presents, and my big present was the Commodore 64 for myself. And it was a Commodore 64C, and it was the Light Fantastic pack, the one with the big light gun. The light gun's huge. I've seen it on eBay a few times now. I've looked at it because I would love to get one of those. Getting one with a good box though is hard. I did find one recently, but it was quite expensive. Not massively expensive, but it was a couple of £100, so you know. But yeah, it came with the light gun. It came, I think, from memory, it comes with Rambo. It's got Mike Reed's Pop Quiz. I'm pretty sure that's involved in it. And you've got the light gun games. I can't remember what else. I just remember on Christmas Day taking it upstairs, setting it all up, and playing the gangster light gun game where they all pop out the windows and you have to shoot the gangsters. That was really cool. But yeah, the Commodore 64 was a fantastic start, because from then on I had a huge collection of Commodore 64. I just remember having a chest of drawers, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 drawers, completely full of games, and I had like majority pirated, obviously, like most people did, but I did also have a couple of legitimate games. I remember we went to Evesham Micros. I don't even remember where that is. Probably in Evesham, I don't know. But I remember going to Evesham Micros. They had a little like bargain bin where they were selling off games cheap, picking up a game called Pedro. I don't remember anything about what that game actually plays like. I just remember the artwork with the I think it was the Imagine logo, if I remember correctly, and the little Mexican bloke on the front. I remember that. And I played so many games back then. I mean, I had the Commodore 64. Mark and Michael both had the Spectrum. Adrian had the Amstrad, so I got to experience all three machines at the same time, which was really cool. You know, to see the difference in the graphics on the games and, you know, how the sound was. I mean, obviously the Commodore had the best sound, but yeah, it was really good. I'm trying to remember all the games. There were so many that stand out, but there's certain ones for me that, obviously Wade Exploding Fist was my first game. I'd say Pedro, Hunchback. I used to play that with my dad. That's a hard game. I remember that being really difficult. Sam Fox Strip Poker. There's a game, I think it's called Aztec Challenge. So I remember Minx 36 back when he had his big Commodore collection. He did a gameplay, I think, for that game, and that's why I remembered what it was. That was a hard-ass game, that was. There was Rambo, Commando, there was Ikari Warriors, one of my absolute favourites of that era. Brilliant, I played it with my cousin all the time, great game. Barbarian, which is a one-on-one fighting game with swords, fantastic. The object is really to chop each other's head off. It was the main thing that used to make that game so much fun. And you roll around on the floor, and a little goblin would come along and kick the head off the screen. It's brilliant, that was. I love that. I remember playing, my dad had the 1541 floppy drive and he gave that to me in my room. And I remember playing Uridium, the side-scrolling shoot 'em up. Got distracted, sorry about that. Yeah, so I remember playing Uridium. There's I think you call it side. It would be horizontal, not isometric here, because isometric was Zaxxon, which I also remember playing. That was a great shooter as well. I remember games like Whizball. There's a game called Quo Vadis, which is one that really sticks in my memory for some reason. Mainly, again, like Wade Exploding Fist, it had a clamshell case as well. If I can get an image, I'll stick it on the screen, because that was a really cool one. I've got a guy in chainmail on the front of the cover. I don't remember much about that game, and I just remember it was like a multi-screen game. And I don't know if there were ropes. I think you used to climb up and down ropes to go through each section. The way that, yeah, I'm thinking like Impossible Mission, the way that used to change screens as well. It might be similar to that. Not as good, obviously, but yeah. And there was a game that for years I didn't know the name of, and then I don't know how many years ago it was now, but I found out on YouTube what it was called. A game called Potty Pigeon, which essentially is just a pigeon that you control, and the object is to fly around and shit on everything. And when you shit on the cars, it demolishes them and gives you points. It was a weird era, the 8-bit era, man. They tried everything and they just put out some really strange games. But yeah, I remember having really great times with my Commodore 64. As I said, my two friends, they had the Spectrum, they had the Rubber Key, is it 48K, I think, Spectrum. Eventually Mark's parents split up and Mark's dad went mental and started buying him everything. So Mark then got a +2 Spectrum and a +3 Spectrum, and then eventually he upgraded to the Amiga 500, which is when we saw the real big change from 8-bit to 16-bit graphics. And that was just like absolutely incredible. I remember seeing that at Mark's, playing Nightbreed, which isn't the greatest game in the world. It was a pack-in. There's two Nightbreeds, if I remember correctly. It was I think it's like a first-person dungeon kind of viewpoint, and that was the one that came in the box. I don't know what the pack was called. Obviously there was the Backpack, which is the one that most people know. There was Cartoon Classics, which was, I think, was a 500 plus, which my cousin had. But yeah, he had the pack with Nightbreed in. Mark did. I remember playing the two games I remember the most at Mark's were Nightbreed and Robocop 2. And Robocop 2 is probably not the greatest game in the world, but graphically at the time, compared to what the 8-bits were doing, it was absolutely fantastic. And I love the sound effects on that game, it's incredible. So of course, seeing the Amiga, I really wanted to get an Amiga. And I don't know when I got my Amiga 500, but I know that in between my Commodore 64 and my Amiga, they started bringing out the cartridge games on the Commodore 64. I only had one, and that was Robocop 2, which I remember being extremely hard to play. I think it was quite nice to look at, but I think gameplay-wise, it was a right bastard. But yeah, I remember that I went from that, as I say, I went from the Commodore 64, I went to the Amiga 500. My parents couldn't afford a brand new one because they were just too expensive. It's the 1980s, you know, it was a lot of money for the machine at the time. I don't remember the exact amount, how much they cost. But in Birmingham, there was a paper called the Bargain Pages, which essentially is like a paper version of eBay in a way. People just list absolutely everything they want to sell in the Bargain Pages. I can't remember if it came out weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, I'm not sure. But we used to pick up the Bargain Pages, scour that and see if there was anything we wanted, and I was looking for an Amiga. And I remember we came across an Amiga 500 with a load of games, and we drove over to this woman's house, and I don't think she must have had it that long because it was in immaculate condition. And she had it all set up, and she said, you know, just go and have a go, see what you think, try it out. I remember it being £250. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I've always remembered it being. I might be completely wrong on that. But yeah, it came with the traditional disc box that we had back then, a disc box full of pirated games, original games, etc. And I remember the first time I played on it, I played Xenon 2 from the Bitmap Brothers, a fantastic shooter. I know it's very simple by today's standards, but I actually quite like the game still. I think it's really fun. And there were better shoot 'em ups on the Amiga, but I still really enjoy Xenon 2. And yeah, the Amiga was just like a whole different level. You know, when we all stepped up to 16-bit, the graphics went through the roof. The games just looked absolutely incredible, and it was just such a monumental shift in the style of games that we were getting, and the graphics and the music and everything. And you had like the crack troves as well, and the pirates as well, which are always very memorable for us. I just remember so many games. I mean, it's really hard to remember every game that I played because there were so many of them. But just some of the highlights for things like Xenon 2, like any of the Bitmap Brothers, Xenon 2, Speedball 2, Magic Pockets, Gods, all fantastic games. There's a game, I'm going to forget the name of it. I knew that was going to happen. Oh, what's it called? Alex Blutonic knows what it is because he talks Warzone, that was it, which is a Rambo Commando run and gun mercs style game, up the screen shooting everybody. That's a brilliant game, I love that one. Switchblade 2 was absolutely fantastic. Not keen on the first one, but the second one, brilliant. The Turrican games, Turrican 2 in particular, I only played 1 and 2 back then. I never got to play number 3, I don't know when that came out. But number 2, the rainbow backgrounds, the music on the intro, phenomenal. Lotus Esprit games 1, 2 and 3, number 3 in particular, I've listened to it a few times on YouTube now. The intro music when the screen comes up, wow, absolutely stunning. Music on the Amiga is so good. Another one is the Killing Game Show. I remember playing that in art class at school. When in secondary school, my art teacher knew I didn't give a toss about art, and so I bribed him with a pirate copy of Deluxe Paint 3, and he let me play on the Amiga in the class. So I remember playing Killing Game Show and Manchester United football. Weirdly for me, because it's not something I would play, but I got really into Manchester United football on the Amiga. That was a great game to play. Yeah, the Amiga was just phenomenal, man. There was so much going on back then. You know, I had so many discs, like the tapes for the 64. I had shitloads of pirate Amiga games. Everybody was doing it. Everyone was sharing their discs and copying them for each other. It was only really when Secret Monkey Island 2 came out, it was the first time I ever had to pay for a game. And I believe it was 12 discs and it was £1 a disc. I'm pretty sure that was correct. So yeah, that was a bit of a pain in the arse at the time. But I played the first Monkey Island. I think I played that at my cousin's house on his Amiga, and I absolutely loved that. And my cousin's sister, my other cousin, her boyfriend at the time, he had an Amiga, and I remember playing Shadow Warriors, which is just, it's not probably that good now, it probably doesn't age well, but at the time I thought that game was incredible. It's a really nice scrolling beat 'em up, some fantastic graphics on it as well. Which is also what Ninja Gaiden's called on the NES in the UK as well, in Power Regions, which is very confusing because that Shadow Warriors is completely different to the Amiga Shadow Warriors. But yeah, the 500 was a hell of a special time. I remember getting my half meg upgrade for Christmas. That was a big leap because obviously you get the 1 megabyte, so you've now got more memory, you can have better looking games. I'm trying to think what else there was. There was so many games. I remember like vividly, the main ones I remember, like legitimate games that I got for Christmas. I remember I think there's 3 of them. There's Final Fight was the one box. Yeah, Final Fight, Leander, Mega Twins, and I'm pretty certain there's something I'm forgetting there. But those are some of the boxes I remember from back then that really stood out. I mean, some of the boxes were so good. You know, you look at them now on eBay and they're absolutely incredible. And like, unfortunately, he hasn't made videos in ages. But Paul, I'm forgetting Paul's channel name. God, that's annoying. It'll come to me in a minute. Mr. Bads. Paul's got an incredible Amiga collection. I'll put a link in the description of this video if you want to check it out, because his background with the Amiga boxes is phenomenal. They are super collectible. I mean, I know we have problems with disc working these days, but just from an art standpoint, the boxes are so worth collecting. They look really, really good. And especially getting those big Signosis boxes. I absolutely love those. But yeah, I mean, you know, this is such a great era. It's like a massive step up in graphics and performance and audio. We've got so many great new games coming out, trying brand new ideas, and then also you've got obviously the joystick. You know, you've got to have your favourite type of joystick. Are you a quick shot guy? Not me, I don't like them at all. Do you like a zip stick? I know people love a zip stick. For me personally, my favourite joystick, well I had 2 actually. Second place would go to the Conic Speed King, which I absolutely loved, although as an adult I've used one a few years ago when I lived in a couple of properties back when my early days of YouTube, you'll see me, I think I had a Conix back then. I picked it up on one of my pickup videos. I definitely owned one, but it's so small now and I find it really difficult to use. But my number one joystick, and it's great as an adult because it's actually quite a big joystick. So as a child, it would have been too big. As an adult, it's perfect size, is the Cruiser joystick. And you can get it in multiple colours, but the one I had was the one that's green base, pink stick, yellow buttons, and I am going to buy one of those back because I absolutely love that. And if I ever get a Commodore 64 or an Amiga back into my collection, I've got to have a Cruiser joystick. I remember last time I played it, as I say, I don't know if it was like 10 years ago or something. I've got a video on my channel where I was playing Jim Power on the Amiga, and I was using the Cruiser then. That joystick is so comfortable for an adult hand because the base fits perfectly into it. The button's in the right place for your thumb. The stick just feels really, really good. It's a fantastic joystick. I'm trying to think who I saw that had a box one. There was somebody I saw got it in their video ages ago now. I feel like it's Clay Graphics, I'm not sure. Was it Clay Graphics that picked one up? I'm sure Clay picked one up and boxed. Let me know, Clay, if it was you. I love that joystick, it's fantastic, the Cruiser. So yeah, so that's the early days, my Commodore days. So we're talking like 80s into the early 90s. Now, in 1990 to 1992, I still had my Amiga, as far as I can remember. And in 1992, the Super Nintendo comes out in April of 92. And I had seen the Super Nintendo and also the Mega Drive previously because my cousin's next door neighbour, Malcolm, who was my cousin's best mate, he had both the Mega Drive and then he got the Super Nintendo. So I tried the Mega Drive. I liked it, I thought it was really good. And I played Castle of Illusion and I absolutely loved that game. But then he got the Super Nintendo. I'll never forget, I'm pretty sure me and my cousin were playing Atari Warriors on the Amiga at the time, and Malcolm comes around and says he got the Super Nintendo, do you want to come and check it out? So we was like, absolutely. And we go around there and he puts on Super Soccer and we're like, yeah, really good. Then he puts on Super Mario World and I was like, I've got to have a Super Nintendo, I have to have one. And I remember hassling my parents trying to get a Super Nintendo, but unfortunately the price of the console, and most importantly, as people are finding with the Switch 2 now, the price of Super Nintendo games was a lot back then. So my parents wouldn't buy me one. They were not willing to pay the money for the games, which is totally understandable because they were expensive. But also I think a little bit of it played into it, the fact that I had an Amiga 500 and, you know, it's a multitasking machine, it doesn't just do games, it's a fully fledged computer as well. So, you know, back then parents used to think, well, why would I want a console that only plays games? That's all it does. They couldn't really see the value factor, I think, was the main reason back then. Because all that thing that people would tell them, you know, in the media about education and all, you know, like computers were first sold on the premise of, oh, if you have a computer in the home, then you can have word processors, encyclopedias, you can educate your children. And then we all just played video games. So it was completely pointless. But it worked as a marketing strategy and got them in the home. So yeah, so I had to get my own Super Nintendo. And that was the Mario World Pack, which I recently re-picked up for my collection. Unfortunately, it's not in the background, it's boxed up at the moment. But yeah, I had to do a paper round to get that. I was only £10 a week, so it would have taken me a long time. I don't remember how much they were selling for at the time in 1992. But yeah, in September of 92, we moved house. So I don't know, it came out in April, we moved house in September. And I do remember that I had my Super Nintendo before we moved house. So it was only a few months, it wasn't that far after launch, I would think, that I actually got one. But yeah, I was so chuffed to get my Super Nintendo. What a console. That's why it's so nostalgic to me and so important to me, probably because it's the first console that I've actually managed to purchase myself with my own money. But also just the games. I mean, I only had a couple. I had Mario World, Street Fighter, Castlevania 4 and Super Pro Protector, or Contra 3. All absolute stone cold classics these days. I mean, they're just killer titles. And I absolutely loved them at the time, and that's why I love Castlevania 4 so much now. It's one of my favourite games of all time. But yeah, at that time as well, and this is the thing, I was very lucky growing up because I had a lot of people around me who had different systems. So I'd started with the Commodore stuff. I had the Commodore 64, my two friends had Spectrums, my one friend ended up getting all three Spectrums and an Amiga 500. I got an Amiga 500. The kid on the end of the road had an Amstrad, and then Michael, who had a Spectrum, eventually, I believe it must have been the early 90s, he got an NES, and I remember playing on there and playing Contra, Turtles, Mario 2, Mario 3, Mega Man 2, I'm pretty sure it was Mega Man 2. All really good games. I'm not a big fan of Mega Man, but it was good at the time. Mario 3 was just incredible. So I got to experience all of those systems, but also around the time that I had my Super Nintendo, I'd become friends. There was a kid at school who had an older brother, His older brother I became friends with, and he had a Super Famicom and he'd go to the Motorcycle Museum in Birmingham and they used to do the gaming markets, and he'd buy all the imports. I remember going with him and coming out, and he had Street Fighter 2 Turbo in the Japanese Super Famicom box, which is probably why that artwork is so nostalgic to me, and that I was just blown away by that at the time. And so he also had a Magicom, so he was pirating all the games on his Super Famicom as well. So I got to experience, because I couldn't afford to buy games for myself, I only had a couple, I was able to experience a lot of Super Nintendo, and that's why I got such nostalgia for it, through him and his friends. I remember walking in when he got Star Fox, seeing that on the TV and being absolutely blown away by it, and playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo and sitting on the end of the bed and playing Winner Stays On. Really great memories, so many games. Parodius is one that always stuck in my head because of him. And another one was the Ramner games, which the one-on-one fighters, which I don't think they're that good actually now, but I mean, it's just a nostalgic memory that I have. And he had a couple of friends who had Master Systems, so I also got to try the Master System out and all. Although the only game I actually remember playing was Rocky. I'm sure I probably played more than that, but for some reason Rocky's the one that stuck in my head. It's probably not even that good now. But yeah, so I got to try a lot of different systems, which was absolutely fantastic. But for me personally, I got my Commodore 64 sales really short. I got my Amiga, which was absolutely incredible, and then I went on to the Super Nintendo, which was an absolute beast of a machine. But also, between 1992 and 1997, because 97 is when I get my next console, I also played on the Atari Jaguar, because my cousin who had an Amiga, I don't know why he bought one. I've never actually asked him, I should have found that out. But he eventually buys a Jaguar for some reason. And I remember going over his house, he got his stereo on. And this is a weird memory that's just popped in my head actually. I remember, that's the recycling by the way, they just come to pick it up. So he had the Jaguar, and I remember going into his bedroom, he had his stereo on, and he was playing Jade Don't Walk Away. I don't know why that stuck in my head, I just remember that song. And seeing the Jaguar and Doom and being really impressed with what it was able to do. And eventually he went off on like an IB for holiday or something with the lads, because he's 18 months older than me. And he let me have the Jaguar while he was away, and so I looked after it, in which was our new home, which we'd moved into in the September of '92. So I was playing the SNES, I was playing the Jaguar. So between '92 and '97, I got the SNES, the Jaguar playing, and then my dad picks up a PC at some point in those years, and I don't remember if it's a 286 or a 386. My dad seemed to think it was a 386, but I can't remember exactly. And it came preloaded with some software. One of the things that it did come preloaded with was Wolfenstein 3D, which is just an absolutely phenomenal first-person shooter. And why I'm a big fan of first-person shooters now, because that game started me on the genre, and I've just gone on from there and played loads. I mean, back then I played Wolfenstein, I played Doom, Doom 2, Duke Nukem 3D, Rise of the Triad, which was absolutely incredible. But I also played a lot of other games like the Commander Keen games. They were really cool. I got to play like the sim games like Megalomania and Sim City and the World one. I can't remember what the World one was called. Yeah, there's a few different games that I got to play on the PC as well. And as an adult, I'm not a PC gamer, but back in the 90s, I thought it was actually pretty good. There's some decent stuff coming out on the PC. So I had all of that going on. And then in 1997 comes round, and in 1997 I get my PlayStation. I don't know when the PlayStation actually came out in the UK, because I think it may have been 94 Japan, 95 America, 96 over the UK. I'm not 100% on that one. But I just remember, look, I didn't know for a long time when I picked my PlayStation up. I couldn't remember. I had memories, I know that I used to play it at my best friend's house. He had a PlayStation before me, I'm pretty sure of that. And I remember playing Time Crisis, Siphon Filter, and a few other games that have really impressed me. And it was only, I made a video on my channel a long time ago now, when I was going through my diaries and I figured out what had happened. And in 1997, I pick up a PlayStation 1 with, I think it was Alien Trilogy, Final Doom. It might have just been those two games, I'm not sure if there was another one. I'd have to go back and watch the video and check for definite. But yeah, I mean, that was quite interesting to find that out, because Alien Trilogy and Final Doom have always been games that have been stuck in my head. I've been really nostalgic, and I never really understood why. I knew Final Doom, that I remember playing. Me and my best mate got two portable TVs and put our PlayStations together with a link cable. So I had that memory. I knew that was probably why that was important. But I never knew why Alien Trilogy mattered so much to me. And obviously, because I got it with my PlayStation. And now PlayStation comes along, and that really just changed the gaming entirely, because it was again another huge step up. We've gone from 16-bit. Now I'd been playing the Jaguar, which is allegedly 64-bit, but obviously it's two 32-bit processors. But really the games didn't look that much better than what I was seeing on the Super Nintendo and the PC at the time. But when the PlayStation comes out, it's all 3D and everything's completely changing, and it just looks like the next level. I mean, it's just such a massive upgrading. You know, the graphics are completely different. The games are bigger and more expansive and interesting. They're trying to do stories with things like Metal Gear, and they're trying to educate you with Medal of Honor. There was so many great games, and they just tried absolutely everything to make that platform work. You know, so many games that I played, like the Ridge Racer 4, Medal of Honor, Time Crisis, the Crash Bandicoot games, the Siphon Filter games. God, it just goes on and on with the PlayStation. It's just so, I remember getting it chipped. Everybody had it chipped, and obviously again, piracy was a huge thing still. So everybody was pirating the discs. I had those couple of legitimate games I bought with it when I first got the console, but then everything was pirate. Dad had a friend at work who knew a bloke who made the discs, so his friend at work would bring the list in from the bloke. We would all get the list, and we'd just go down the list. And I think they were only like a couple of quid each. He wasn't charging a lot of money for these games, so we were able to get quite a lot. So I'd just go down my list and I'd go, right, I want to try that, that and that. And I weren't reading magazines at the time and following the industry either, so I didn't actually know what the hell these games were. So when I was seeing like your Medal of Honors, your Metal Gear Solids, I remember Metal Gear Solid, when we got that, it was a Japanese copy, so we couldn't actually get anywhere in the game. Because the beginning of the game, there's that bit, that bloke's lying on the floor. You have to get a code or something, if I remember right, and the code was on the back of the actual game, on the back of the case. So of course we couldn't actually play the game, we couldn't get any further. Eventually I remember I think we must have, I'm pretty sure we got a screen grab of the back of the case on some kind of rudimentary, like an Ask Jeeves or something back then, and that would have been how we figured it out and got the code to move further into the game. But eventually we did get an American copy as well, I remember that. Yeah, because that was around the time when RGB was, I don't know if it was still new, but it wasn't really like commonplace, not for me anyway. And I remember getting Mortal Kombat 4, and it was American, and it was in black and white on my dad's 21-inch TV, and we had to get an RGB SCART to make it colour. I remember that. Yeah, well, I had so many good times with PlayStation. You know, I mean, it was just such a big difference and such a great era. That late 90s, mid to late 90s era, fantastic. The music and, you know, the graphics on the games, they felt more adult than the Super Nintendo. It felt like gaming had grown up, you know, and obviously they were doing the whole thing where they were putting Wipeout on the machine and putting it in nightclubs, trying to make it trendy and cool. They were trying to do really interesting advertising campaigns. So they were totally trying to like level up gaming and make it no longer a child's thing or a nerdy thing. It was just like gaming's for everybody. And I think they did a really good job with that as well. So I had the PlayStation. In 2000, the PlayStation 2 comes out. Now, I'm like beyond excited for the PlayStation 2 coming out because I've loved my PlayStation. I've played it every day. I had absolutely stacks of games. I used to have those CD racks that you could buy, the horizontal ones, and I had like 2 of them on my bedroom wall, completely full of music CDs, PlayStation games, the whole lot. And I remember being really excited for this PlayStation 2 coming out and seeing like images on the internet. It was so rudimentary at the time, but you know, obviously with the old internet with full broadband, and the picture would just come down stutter like that, and you have to just sit there and wait until you get a photograph. I mean, it was insane. But I remember doing that for Time Splitters. That was going to be a launch title, and we saw that, and me and my mates were just like, wow, that looks incredible. It looks really impressive. I remember seeing video of the bouncer at the time and all, which I was never that keen. I never actually picked it up and tried it because I was like, I don't know about that game. I know Stu Ninja Bear Hug's been talking about it recently. He's been bigging it up, saying it's a good game. So I will have to try that at some point in the future. I think it was because it looked too Final Fantasy for me. The art style just doesn't appeal. But the actual game is like a scrolling beat 'em up, so it should be good. But yeah, I remember the PlayStation 2, the launch comes around, and it was an absolute pain in the arse to get one. They were sold out everywhere. And we were quite late ordering ours. Me and my mate Steve. I don't remember where we ordered from. It was a different part of Birmingham from where we lived. It was quite far away from what I can remember. But we managed to find a HMV that actually had pre-order still. And so we got our pre-orders in, and I remember when it comes out, the first week, nothing, you know, probably the first 2 weeks actually, they were all gone. We were just waiting to get the call to find out we get our PlayStations. Eventually, I remember one day at work, because we used to phone our friends at work, obviously, because I'm in the office, I'm bored, and I remember calling Steve, or he called me, I think he might have called me actually, And he said, I've had a call from HMV, have you had a call? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, they told me my PlayStation's in stock, so you want to give them a bell. So I get on the phone, and they're like, yeah, we've been trying to get you all day. I was like, oh, fantastic. So we go over there, get it, and I'm trying to remember all the games I had at launch, but I'll do my best. I know I had Time Splitters. I'm pretty certain Smuggler's Run was a launch title. I might be totally wrong on that, but I think it was. So I would have had that. I had Tekken Tag Tournament, Dead or Alive 2, Silent Scope. Was there anything else? Tekken Tag, Silent Scope, Smuggler's Run, Dead or Alive 2. I'm pretty sure there was another game as well. But I know I had a really good variety of genres because I wanted to test out exactly what this new machine could do. Because obviously we're going from 32 to 128 at this point. We're not even, you know, it's not even like the usual thing, you go 16 to 32 or 32 to 64. We're jumping all the way to 128. And I actually just remembered, I forgot to say as well, just backtracking a slight bit, before I actually got my PlayStation 2, there was a period of time, I don't remember, it probably was in the year 2000, probably the same year that I got the PlayStation 2. It may have been 1999, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm guessing it's 2000 because the Dreamcast had come out, it had failed, and I remember coming home from work one night and I'm walking through Solihull. There used to be a massive Argus on the corner, whether it's still there or not. The Argus, they had it in there must have been an advert in the window or something for Dreamcast being sold cheaply, and they were knocking out box Dreamcast, brand new, 50 quid a pop. So I picked up a Dreamcast, loved it, I thought it was fantastic, you know, again, got some of the dodgy discs and everything. And I remember playing Matt Hoffman's, playing Crazy Taxi, Confidential Mission, House of the Dead, that sort of stuff. Sonic Adventure, phenomenal. Power Stone, I mean, what a great system that was. And then one time after that, before I got the PS2, I got an N64, because I remember the Toys R Us in Birmingham, which was quite large. I can never remember the name of the market opposite the Toys R Us. It drives me mad that there's, oh, I nearly got it then, it nearly came. Because we used to go there all the time as teenagers. But I remember going to the Toys R Us, and as we were walking out of Toys R Us, they got a kiosk set up with Diddy Kong Racing, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. So I remember picked that up and took that back with me. And I remember I had Diddy Kong Racing, Mario 64, and of course GoldenEye. I remember seeing GoldenEye in Virgin, which was on the back of the market, on the corner. You got the slope and it was on the corner, and they had like they had 4 pods set up. It was like a big pole from the floor to the ceiling, and they had the 4 TVs around it. I assume somebody's playing multiplayer. Yeah, that blew my mind, taking GoldenEye home and playing that. I mean, I never played multiplayer, I only played single player, but the campaign was just so incredible. But yeah, so I had those sort of stop gaps in between. I must have sold my PS1 stuff and then I had a bit of extra money because I was working as well, and I just went and got those 2 systems sorted out. I wish I'd bought more of those Dreamcast though with that price. I mean, 50 quid, pff, imagine now. Could have made a nice little profit on those. But yeah, I got the PS2 anyway. PlayStation 2 comes out, absolutely loved it. I only had it for a year, till 2001. But in that time, I got loads out of it. I played the hell out of Silent Scope and Tekken Tag Tournament and Smuggler's Run and a little bit of Dead or Alive. I'm sure there was another game that I had, but I just can't think what it was. That's a little frustrating, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, great console. I had it on the vertical stand as well in my bedroom, so it looked really nice next to the TV. Yeah, good memories of that system for the time being. And obviously Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and I've talked about this in other videos. That was the big one for that game, that console. You know, the rain effect, as I always talk about, is just something that absolutely was mind-blowing at the time. To see the whole game, to go from the 2D PlayStation game to this whole 3D realised world on the PlayStation 2, and have this rain effect and the music on the radios and all the speech. I mean, you know, when we were growing up, speech was a limited thing on games. It wasn't a regular thing. It wasn't like now where you just have reams and reams of dialogue. You were lucky if you got a word or two in a game, you know. So it was quite incredible playing a PlayStation 2. But then in 2001, the Xbox comes out. Now I'm seeing this coming out. I'm seeing the bits on TV. I'm seeing about it. I'm hearing about it. I'm thinking, okay, is this something I want to get into? And then we had Birmingham Cable. I don't remember the channel. Some random channel that was showing a little tiny, and I mean really short clip of Halo, and that was the deciding factor for me. I was like, I have to have an Xbox. When I saw that, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing graphically. How much I didn't think it would ever be possible, probably at the time, that it could beat the PlayStation 2, but the graphics looked so much better and so far ahead of what PS2 was putting out, even with Grand Theft Auto 3. But I was hesitant because obviously, like Sony, Microsoft were new. They're coming into this arena. They know PC gaming, but they don't know consoles. Can they do this? Is it going to be successful? And you know, Sony have proven it can be done. They took on Sony, Nintendo and Sega, and they did a really good job. And obviously, Sega got pushed out. But eventually I see on Amazon a listing pre-order for Grand Theft Auto 3 on Xbox. So I'm like, right, okay, I can actually do this now, I can take the risk. But then they pulled the pre-order and I was like, oh shit. So then I was a bit hesitant. Eventually anyway, they did put it back up and I sold my PS2 and I pre-ordered an Xbox, and it was the best decision I made. I absolutely loved my Xbox. It became my regular console for the next 4 years until the 360 in 2005. Launch of Xbox, it turns up from Amazon, massive box, all the games I'd ordered. I got Rally Sport Challenge, Dead or Alive 3, Oddworld Strangers Wrath. No, is that right? No, it's the other one, that's the later one. Oddworld, I can't remember what it's called. Munchie's Odyssey, that's it. Oddworld Munchie's Odyssey, Rally Sport Challenge, Dead or Alive 3, and Halo. Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty good lineup actually. It was a pretty good launch. I remember playing Rally Sport Challenge, being absolutely blown away by the racing game, and the graphics on it were absolutely incredible. Playing Dead or Alive 3 and being just stunned. Like, I mean, I thought Soul Calibur on Dreamcast was good, and I'm playing Dead or Alive 3. The water effects are just outstanding, and just the weather in general, like the snow effects. I mean, the character models, the music, the sound effects, the speech, it was stunning. And then I put on Halo, and that was just a total game changer. I mean, what a ridiculously great campaign that was. Admittedly, I do feel like it drags a little in the middle and it gets a bit annoying near the end. You just want it to be over because it's good. Does go on a bit too long, but what an experience, man. I mean, the first time you land on the planet and, you know, walking out of the ship, looking down at the ground, turning on your torch and it lights up the grass and you see every blade of grass. It was just something else. I mean, it's something that generations now don't really understand because they go from PS4 to PS5 to PS6. There's barely any difference. You know, when we were going from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, it was like, wow. And then PlayStation 2 to Xbox, and it's like, holy shit, man, how is this possible? It was just absolutely incredible. And I have great memories of playing the campaign on my own, as well as playing my best mate, playing the campaign in co-op mode. So you got like a horizontal split screen, which was such a laugh. I always remember the one part where you have to sneak into this one area and all the little Covenant dudes are sleeping and you're supposed to try and get through without waking them up. Now my best mate is very much a stealth guy. I am completely opposite on balls to the wall action. So it's not a good combination because he walked in, he's trying to like hit him with the butt of his gun and knock him out and be really stealthy and clever about it. And I just run in, smashed all the windows and threw the grenades around. He wasn't impressed. Yeah, but yeah, I loved Halo. Halo was absolutely fantastic. And then of course Halo 2 came out. When I was doing the co-op with my mate, we had a place together, we were sharing a place. And then when Halo 2 was out, I had my own place, my first own property. And I remember playing that online, the early days of Xbox Live. I had a friend who had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend I became friends with, and we were playing Halo 2 together with him and his friends. That was really fun, that was a great time. So many great games. I mean, Freedom Fighters is one that sticks out. It's cross-platform, but I absolutely love that game on my Xbox. Shadow Ops Red Mercury is another one, which is still a great game. I mean, it's a bit clunky, but it's still really, really fun to play through. Yeah, I mean, I've got my Xbox collection there. As you know, I love my Xbox. It's a fantastic console, you know, and essentially a PC in a box, but so many great games, so many great experiences. Xbox Live being completely new to me and playing online was a totally different experience and a way to experience gaming. It was incredible. So then, of course, I had that from 2001 to 2005, and somewhere in between there, I also picked up a GameCube. I actually don't know why I picked up a GameCube. I don't know what the reason for it was, but I remember ordering it. I don't know if it was, what was the name of that company that used to advertise in the magazines? It was like a massive spread. It used to, I don't know if it was a phone line or what else used to. There's a big company that used to sell all the stuff. Anyway, I'm sure I got it from them, but I ordered it. It came. I got the Platinum GameCube, which was gorgeous. I absolutely love that. And the only thing I remember really enjoying and playing a lot, the most of, was Mario Sunshine. I absolutely love that game. I thought it was fantastic. And this was, yeah, that was when I was living with my best mate. So the year before I moved into my own place. So yeah, so we were playing the campaign co-ops on Xbox, but then I also got my GameCube and I was playing the hell out of Mario Sunshine. I remember lying on my bed, just playing Mario Sunshine, climbing up those like chain link fence bits and everything, and using the water backpack, and what a game, absolutely incredible. And then in 2005, obviously the Xbox 360 is coming out. That came in 2nd of December in the UK of 05. That was a great time because now the internet started to get a bit more developed, so you can actually follow the industry a lot easier. And I used to go on game trailers every day, every morning before work, and just check out what's come out, all the latest new videos and game trailers and interviews and whatever was available. I used to follow it religiously, and I used to also watch G4 as well back then. So I was really plugged into what was going on in the industry and E3 and all of that jazz. And I remember like the big events. Was it in the Nevada desert? I can't remember, when it was all green and they had the big dome for the Xbox 360 for the Americans to go to, which was absolutely incredible. And they had all the consoles set out to play. Yeah, I remember the 360 when it got announced. I literally, the following day, I went straight to Gaming Solihull and placed my order. And when I went there, the guy went, "We haven't even taken any orders yet. We haven't even got the tickets ready. You're the first one in." But I was like, that much of a die-hard Xbox guy. I had to have a 360. I didn't even care. I don't even know if they told us what the launch titles were or anything at that point. I was just, gotta have one. Gotta have that next console. And obviously this is a big difference as well, another big difference, because we're now going into high definition. The TVs in the country are changing, and they're trying to get us into high definition TV. That's been upgraded because in the UK we only had standard definition TV, so our picture quality was a bit crap really when you look at it now. So we're getting moved over to HD, so we're now looking at like flat screen TVs are starting to come in. They're very expensive, but they're coming in. So we've now got to upgrade our TVs if we want to do HD, and you're only talking 720p at this point. And the Xbox 360 is coming out, which is obviously going to drive a few of those sales because, you know, it's an affordable console. Everybody's going to want one, and you want to get the most out of it at the time. Now, at the time when I got my 360, I had the Toshiba 36-inch widescreen CRT. Beast of a TV, incredible. Had component on the back, so could do 720p, which was fantastic. But by the time December comes around, I get my Xbox. I actually had plumped to get a Hitachi plasma TV, 42-inch, detachable speakers. Absolutely phenomenal TV. It did me well for a few years. Absolutely great telly. Cost me an arm and a leg, but God, it was worth every penny. So yeah, the 360. I've been watching the stuff online. I remember seeing some of the games, and I was really interested. I remember watching a video on game trailers for the Ghost Recon game. That really impressed me. It's not a game I'd actually play myself, but I thought the graphics looked stunning on it. And then one day, me and my friends were in Solihull on our lunch break, going to game. They got the kiosk set up, the iconic Xbox kiosk with the Samsung 27-inch flat screen TV, which like comes to a point at the bottom like that, like the diamond shape. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I remember seeing that, and this kid in front of us was playing on it. He was playing King Kong, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. Then he puts on Call of Duty 2, which was a game at that point I wasn't that bothered about seeing. I wasn't that interested in it until I saw him play End of the Beginning. And when he put End of the Beginning on and started playing it, and you're on the back of the truck and the music's playing and the atmospherics, and he drives into town, he gets off, and it all just kicks off, and he's just gunning everyone down. I was just absolutely blown away. And I knew at that point I'd made the right decision to order a 360. I was completely sold. And I had a go on it and absolutely loved it, and I couldn't wait. And so 2nd of December comes around, 2005. I booked the day off work to make sure I could have the whole day playing the Xbox. The shop opened at 7 game. I was the first in line. I was the first one to buy one, so I had nothing to worry about getting one. And a couple of days earlier, they called me to confirm my order was in and the games I wanted were in and everything was sorted. But I got there about, I got there to Solihull around about 5, half 5 in the morning, something silly like that. I was just too excited, like a little kid at Christmas. I couldn't wait. So I gets up, gets myself a flask of tea, gets on the bus, going to Solihull. I get there, there's a queue of people already that have been there since midnight with chairs and whatnot. And it was just such a great buzz, something you just don't get now, obviously, because nowadays everything's pre-ordered on Amazon and it's just delivered to your door, which is kind of boring. No more midnight launches, something I remember from the original Xbox for San Andreas and also for Halo 2. Those are both midnight launches, great excitement. And the 360, as I say, I get there, they're all lined up, they're all queued up, ready to go. The first few people in front of me, they managed to get one because they had a few extra assistants. Unfortunately, the people behind me, they weren't able to get on, they had none left, which was a real shame. But I got my 360, I remember lugging it across town. Everybody's starting to come in now, they're all starting to get ready to go into work, and I'm just waiting for the bus to go back to my place and stick this new console and start playing the games. It was just an amazing time. And I've got to remember this correctly, I got Perfect Dark Zero, Condemned, Call of Duty 2, Project Gotham 3, and I'm not sure, was there one other game? I don't think I had Cameo, I'm pretty sure I didn't. I don't even know if that actually was a launch title, but those ones I know for definite. Project Gotham 3, brilliant. But of course, you know, Perfect Dark, okay, decent game. Graphically gorgeous, really impressive to start with that. I mean, for a launch title, it looks great. It's not the greatest game in the world by any means, but it's a nice looking game. But then I played Call of Duty 2, was absolutely hooked, played that for most of the day, had a great time with that, it's such a fun game. And then I played Condemned, and I was just like, wow, what is this game? It was just so different, you know, first person, survival horror-ish, investigative, FBI agent, drug addicts running around, smacking them in the face with pieces of wood. I've also got a 5.1 surround system as well, so you get the full effect of when the guys are running around and screaming at you. It's just such a great experience. Fantastic launch, probably the last great launch that I had for any system as far as I can remember. Yeah, because like following on from that, the launches were never as good as the 360 launch. It was all the hype building up to the console, the unveiling of the console, the thing in the desert, you know, Peter Moore, Jay Allard, Bobby Back being the face of the Xbox 360. It's just a completely different era, you know, the Blade system, the high definition, the games that were coming out. That generation is an incredible generation. And so from there, I went on to the PlayStation 3. Now, this would have been probably, I think, 2007-ish. Now, I had the PlayStation 3 when it first came out in America. I pre-ordered, well, I ordered from eBay. I think it was the 20 gig, there was a 20 gig and a 40 gig, and I couldn't wait, so I ordered the 20 gig. Madness. I mean, I don't know how much it was from America. I dread to think it must have been so expensive, because when it came out in the UK, it was £425. So God knows, with the American, the cost of the machine and the international shipping and the tax when it got here, I must have been in for like £1,000, I reckon, easy. What a twat. But it was worth it, because I got it and I played Resistance Fallen Man and loved it, so I can't really complain. But I remember getting that because I wanted the PlayStation 3, not only because of the Resistance looked good, but because of the Blu-ray player. You know, I'd been a big proponent of HD DVD. I jumped in early. I'd imported an American Toshiba standalone HD DVD player from America. Cost me a fortune. I went all in on HD DVD and then it tanked and died. And then Blu-ray was the big thing. So I got my PlayStation 3, and from memory at the time, the Sony standalone player was £1,000, and the reviews were saying that the PlayStation 3 was just as good quality as that one. I don't know if that's actually true, but that was the Sony one with the blue on the front, which is absolutely beautiful. All you see in Casino Royale, incredible player. But yeah, I had the PlayStation 3 from America, and then I'm pretty sure it was 2007, it got released in the UK. I ended up getting a PAL PlayStation 3. I don't know exactly what happened here, because during this period of time I switched them back and forth between Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 quite a bit. So I had a 360 originally, the normal cream one. I had the Elite model. I had another cream one that had the red ring. I had to send that back twice to get fixed. And then I had the American PlayStation 3, then I had the PAL PlayStation 3, and then I had a white 40 gig Japanese PS3, which you can see in my early videos in the background, with Spider-Man 3 the movie. Yeah, I went a bit mental back then with these systems. I was just so indecisive instead of just buying and owning both consoles and being done with it, which is what I should have really done. But yeah, the PlayStation 3 was a hell of another game changer. I absolutely love that console. It's still my favourite of that generation. You know, I remember playing Resistance, absolutely loving that. Ridge Racer 7 was incredible. I remember going into game and picking up Heavenly Sword. I don't like hack and slash, but the bloke behind the counter recommended it. He said it was a really good game. He said, you're going to like this. And I did. I actually thought it was fantastic. I can't get on with God of War and Devil May Cry and all those, but for some reason Heavenly Sword just clicks with me. It's a beautiful game and it works really, really well. Yeah, PS3 was a great era, you know, and that became my main system. And to this day, as you can see the collection in the back there, as much as I love the 360, it has a lot of advantages and there's a lot of great exclusives. The PS3 is still my favourite console from that generation, bar none. It's a fantastic system, you know. Going from the 6-axis pad with no rumble, which I didn't actually mind, it was quite nice, to the DualShock. And you know, some people don't like the PlayStation 3 controller. Admittedly, L2, R2 are shit. They're very slippery and your fingers come off them quite easily. I understand that. But I like the lightness of the controller. I like the positioning of the sticks. I find it very comfortable to use. I've always really enjoyed that controller. I had the camera at some point as well with the Move controllers. That was really good, using it on Heavy Rain and other games like the Shoot. And I can't remember what that one's called, the one where you're on the board and you're flying down the street. There's a few different ones. Sports Champions, me and my dad played. My dad had a PlayStation 3 at some point as well, because you could use the USB drive. yeah, so we used to have them set up for multimedia. So that was another thing with the PlayStation 3 that made it such a great system. You had an amazing games console, a fantastic Blu-ray player, and you had all of the media options as well. Especially in the early days of the 60 gig, when you had all the SD cards, the USB slots, and all that. And I think did it have a card reader? I can't remember. Yeah, absolutely incredible. So it was a lot of money, but it was absolutely worth every penny, I thought. I mean, as I say, £425 at launch in the UK, a lot of money, but you know, that was 2007, now 2025, and the consoles are still the same price. So that's in a way, as much as people aren't happy about the Switch 2 price, can't really complain, can we? Because the prices haven't changed. So that's a good thing. So yeah, so from the PS3, I then go on to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. I don't remember, was it 2013 when they came out? I think it was. And I'm pretty sure they came out close to each other as well. There wasn't a lot of difference in time. Yeah, this was, for me, as much as I like the system, this is where it starts to go down a little bit in terms of like launches and just in general the industry as well. I'm still watching like a lot of online stuff at this point, so obviously the internet is massive. I'm watching Adam Sessler, he used to have his own YouTube channel at one point, he used to work at G4. I remember watching that, watching him, and I can't think if it was Morgan Webb or somebody else he was with. It might have been that bloke off G4, I can't remember. And they were doing a whole thing about the PS4, and I was quite impressed. And people on YouTube were getting PS4s. I really wanted to get one. I didn't get one straight away. I eventually did get one. I really like the system, it's great. I mean, obviously you got Uncharted 4. The previous generation on PS3, for me, had been defined by the Uncharted games. I absolutely loved the first 3 games. And then there was like the Heavy Rain and other games that absolutely blew my mind. But PS4, Uncharted 4, great. Watch Dogs, fantastic. I absolutely love the knack games. I know that not a lot of people do, but for me, knack 1 and 2 are a couple of my favourite platform games. Absolutely love those games to bits. All the Call of Duties, I haven't played from Modern Warfare upwards, so there's a lot that I haven't played, but all the other ones like Ghosts, which is fantastic, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, all those early ones, absolutely love all of those. I've still got a lot to do with the PlayStation 4. I really haven't had a chance to delve deeply into the library itself, even now in 2025. So that's something I've got to do when I have the opportunity to set up a new game room and get everything ready and get my PS4 set up again. I'm going to actually dive back in, and I've got to get a new hard drive for it as well, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, but there you go. But yeah, it feels a bit deflating. I mean, PS4 comes out, I played Killzone, I thought it was crap. Graphically stunning, obviously, incredible looking game, but God, it's boring, as Killzone games generally are. The first Killzone is the only one I've actually really enjoyed playing, and I still haven't completed that one. So I played Killzone. I don't remember what else I played. I mean, I know, because as I said, the Xbox One as well around the same time, so I was playing Rise, Son of Rome on the Xbox, which is fantastic. I love that game. Sunset Overdrive was really good. And I played Call of Duty Ghosts, I think, on both machines, and then I played Tomb Raider Remastered on both machines. Fantastic game. Yeah, it's just, for me, PS4 is where it all went wrong from then onwards, because it's just not that exciting. When you look at like the PS3 era and the 360 and how many different games come out, so many different genres, so many different ideas. People could name you 10 or 20 PlayStation 3 or 360 games that they absolutely love without even thinking. When it comes to the PS4 and that, I'm just like, the AAA stuff is not as good as it was before. And then obviously you've got all this crap with not all the games on the disc, and you have to download massive updates, and you can't just stick a disc in and play your game anymore, and it just starts getting a bit annoying. But the good thing was I did eventually, my parents bought me the VR for it a couple of years back, and that was a game changer, absolutely incredible. You know, I remember Christmas Day, me and my dad playing the VR and trying that demo with the shark tank, and it was just like, what the hell is this? It was so surreal. Leaning over the side of the cage, and the shark goes poof. Absolutely brilliant. And then we played Everybody's Golf, and my dad loved that. Watching my dad play that was really fun. That was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, and then myself, I played Blood and Truth, which is without doubt one of the greatest on-rails first-person shooter type games I've ever played. Playing that in VR is just mind-blowing. And Astro Bot, I mean, Jesus Christ. I got my dad to play that as well. That is a phenomenal experience, playing Astro Bot in the virtual reality world. Incredible. So yeah, so there are good things, but I've still got a long way to go. I haven't got an Xbox One. I don't think I'll ever buy one again, I'm not sure. I really can't see the point, other than the fact that Gears of War 4 is really good, and I absolutely love Rise, Son of Rome, and I like Sunset Overdrive. But 3 games, it's not really worth it, is it? It's not worth the investment. which is a shame really, but there you go. Yeah, so after the PS4 and the Xbox, I picked up the Switch in 2017 as well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm trying to think that because it's just been that long. So yeah, PS4 was an Xbox for 2013. 2017 was the Switch, so 4 years later. So I picked up a Switch. I honestly didn't play it that much. I played Mario Odyssey, absolutely loved it to bits, and I never really touched the Switch much after that. I was just playing too much PS4 and Xbox at that point. I didn't really care about playing the Switch. Plus, I'm also doing all the retro gaming as well, and all the collecting. And then like the PS5 when that comes out, I just don't care. And only recently I've picked up a Switch OLED last year, and I'm really starting to enjoy that system. It's great. So one thing I forgot to mention as well, going back, if we go back to 2003, that's when I got my first place. And this is when the collecting as you know it started. In 2003, I decided, I think it was 2003 when I first moved in, or 2004, somewhere around there. I decided for some reason to pick up a Super Famicom. Now, I'd previously in the past, when I lived with my mate, this is in the early days of eBay, I picked up a Mega Drive 2 and Mega CD 2 just loose. And then I picked up a Super Nintendo as well. I remember he had a Super Nintendo. That was like the early germination of me delving back into the older systems at that time. And I didn't really do a lot. I wasn't collecting anything. I just literally bought them just to try them out because they were dirt cheap at that time because no one cared on eBay. They were just trying to get rid of them. But then in 2003, 2004, I bought a Super Famicom from videogameimports.com. Immaculate condition, 80 quid in the box, all bagged up and everything. It's perfect condition, beautiful. Then I eventually got a Japanese Mega Drive, and then I started collecting heavily for both of those, importing games from Japan. And then it just got mental because then I just started buying absolutely everything. And I don't remember everything I had, but I know that I had a Super Famicom, Japanese Mega Drive, I had a Sega Genesis 1, 2 and 3, Neo Geo AAS, Neo Geo CD, Neo Geo CD-Z, I had a PC Engine GT, a PC Engine Normal, I had, I think I had an Amiga. I got an Amiga back at some point. What else did I have? I must have got N64s, I'm pretty sure. I had a few different boxed Super Nintendo American models, like the Donkey Kong Country pack, Killer Instinct pack. I had a few different ones. Yeah, I just went mad and just bought absolutely everything. Anytime I wanted to buy something and try it, I just went and got it off eBay. It wasn't expensive back then. I've talked before, I managed to get, there was a guy who had a pallet full of brand new sealed Atari Jaguars and Atari Jaguar CD systems, and he wanted £150 for the Jaguar and the CD together. So I ended up buying those. I wish I'd held on to those because I ain't buying a Jaguar these days, they're far too expensive. But yeah, I've had a really varied time over the years, you know, the computers through to the consoles and the collecting and everything. And I was very lucky when I was young that all the people around me had different systems as well, which is a fantastic thing because back in the 80s and 90s, these were expensive. So we couldn't afford to just buy everything. We had to just pick a system and stick with it. And so when your friends have got different systems, it's great because you can go around each other's houses and experience all the games, maybe games that are exclusive to those systems, but also games that you've got on your system and see what they're like in a different format. Like, you know, the Commodore days, I would see a game on my Commodore and then play it on the Spectrum and play it on the Amstrad and see the difference. It was great times. Yeah, I've owned a lot of great systems and I've had a lot of great times, and now as an adult, I currently own a PS4, I've got a Switch, I've got a PS1, I've got Xbox, N64, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, yeah, and obviously got PSP and DS handhelds as well. And I'm going to get some more systems as time goes on because I'm fully back on board with the collecting. I'm really enjoying it at the moment, so it's great times. But yeah, I thought it'd just be really interesting to just go over a few memories and, you know, talk about my complete history of where I started and where I am today in 2025. It's been a long time, 40 years, and there's a lot of great systems, and, you know, that's not even including all the arcade stuff as well. I mean, there's, you know, like all of you guys, I'm sure you have a big history of, you know, the machine you started with to the machine you've got now, or the machines you have now, and all the machines you've collected as a collector. And yeah, it's incredible what we do, isn't it, really? The amount of systems that we pick up and the games, and it always makes me wonder, it's always amazing to me how we have all these games and we manage to play them and we know what they are and we can talk about them and we go, oh yeah, I know what that game is, oh that's that genre or that genre, oh we played this game, that's similar to that game, and we have just like encyclopedic knowledge. It's incredible, and it's probably the same for other people who are into like music and films and books and all of that. It's quite incredible, really. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this and it's been interesting to listen to. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments as always, and I'll see you next time.